Hi guys, welcome to our second poetry lesson with Inspiration Fine Arts Summer Camp 2020. Today we're going to be talking about our first type of poetry, which are odes. My name is Kai,
And my name is Mallory.
and we are going to get started right now. So first we want to talk about what is an ode. An ode is a short type of poem that is focused on something or someone that is praiseworthy, a form of writing that expresses thankfulness or admiration.
Okay, before we go into depth about odes and writing odes, we're going to talk about the history behind odes. So, odes have Greek origins, and the ode was developed by the Greeks for choirs and individual singers. Odes became an ideal form of writing in Greek theater. So, back then, the Greeks used odes, well, they sang odes in their theatrical shows to convey their plot lines. And then to understand how odes went from sung to spoken, the choral style was loved by the Romans, but composers like Gaius Catullus turned the ode into a form of spoken word. And Catullus is famous for his odes to his secret love, and odes became one of the most romantic forms of literature. And then during the Renaissance, um, odes were eventually evolved and revised by English poets to create the Western style that we know today.
So we're going to talk about three vocabulary words for you guys to know when you are analyzing poetry. The first is theme, and theme is the lesson of life or commentary about human nature in poetry that the author is trying to display. So, theme is what the author wants you to get from reading their poem, basically. Next word is tone, and the tone is the writer's attitude towards the poem. So, tone is all about how the writer feels about what they're talking about, basically. In an ode, a lot of the time and majority of time, the writer will feel admiration or uh, pride or love for the topic. And then the last vocab word is syntax, and syntax is um, the effect of the word order and grammatical structure on the reader and the poem. So syntax is a little more difficult to identify in theme or tone, but when you're looking at syntax, try to figure out why the author chose certain words over others, why the author um, made their poem look a certain way. Do they have longer lines or shorter lines? Um, what type of language are they talking about? Those type of things to understand syntax.
So now we're going to look at an example of an ode, and this one is called "Ode to Kool-Aid," and it's by Marcus Jackson. So as we look through this poem, try to pay attention to and try to figure out the author's tone, the theme, and the syntax and any figurative language that they use throughout the poem. So Ode to Kool-Aid. You turn the kitchen, taps metallic stream into tropical drink. Extra sugar whirlpooling to the pitcher bottom like gypsum sand. Purplosaurus rex, roaring crocodile red. Ice blue island twist. Sharkleberry fin. On our tongues, each version keeps a section like tiles on the elemental table. In ninth grade, Sandra employed a jug of black cherry to dye her straighten bangs burgundy. When toddlers swallow you, their top lips mustached in color, as if they kissed paint. The trendy folks can savor all that imported mango nectar and health market juice. We need factory crafted packets, unpronounceable ingredients, a logo cute enough to hug, a drink unnaturally sweet, so that on the porch, as summer sun recedes, Granddad takes out his teeth to make more mouth to admit you. Okay, so after reading the poem, I hope you noticed that the author's tone was kind of reminiscent and joyful, and he was kind of like recollecting on his childhood, and that's how he was talking throughout the poem. And then the theme would be that Kool-Aid is more than a drink, and the author the talks about Kool-Aid as like an image of his childhood. And then the syntax, as you saw, the poet used short lines and that were descriptive yet playful. And for figurative language, the poet was about Kool-Aid as if it was a person and kept referring to it as you. And he also used imagery, as he was talking about the Kool-Aid leaving like a mustache on the toddler's lips.
So now we're going to read Ode to Anger by Marilyn Chin. Soak in a hot bath, arrange my futuristic hair, then the futon and the cushioned tatami. Cut orchids, cut fruit. Set the table for plenty, but there's only one of me. And here you come, a cricket's dance in the woods, in a fog-colored zoot suit. Your eyes are red and bleary. I am practicing good purity. I do not get angry. But here comes my father with the tiger's claws. He paces and frets. I get no rest. The caged animal must be released. Here comes my mother with the serpent's touch. I know the dim monk, the touch of death. I know the softness of the temples, the groin, the heart. Here come my sisters with the lizard's tongue to expel the secret in a moment's hiss. But they are slow on their haunches. I shall strike first. Their weird basket was a snare. The fish within were dying. You promised me fresh fish. You promised unconditional love and providence. Here comes my brother with the ox's heart to explain the world in Plum's pit. He is not your kind. You don't understand his plight, nor does he your tormenting silence. Tiger's claw, serpent's touch, lizard's tongue, ox's heart. The caged animal is released. I believe in the touch of life. I shall keep my secrets always. Although you have lost your way, you have never forsaken me. You have been whole, you have been good. So in this poem, the tone we're seeing is anger. As the poem says, it's an ode to anger. But we're also seeing passive aggressive because the author is reflecting on this time of her life with anger and passive aggressiveness. The theme that we saw, and just a note, poems can have many different themes, and you can identify different themes, they can all be correct. The poem that we found was that anger and love can coexist. The author is talking about how angry she was at that time in her life, but she still, at the end of the poem, realized that her family was still there for her. They had never done her any wrong or led her astray. Syntax, there are changing levels of detail and line length. So some lines at the very beginning are short and some are longer. And also the poem follows a sort of chronological order where you can see the author's train of thought. And finally, for figurative language, you saw onomatopoeia, metaphor, repetition, and imagery, a lot of descriptive language. So now we're going to talk about some imagery and other figurative language, other figurative languages. So imagery is using figurative language or descriptive language to appeal to the five senses. An example that we have here is a host of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So the word golden daffodils, instead of just saying daffodils, you say golden. It really brings about an image in your head. And that's all imagery is just getting your reader to see what you see, understand what you understand about what you're describing. So fluttering and dancing in the breeze, that's imagery because your reader is understanding exactly what you're seeing.
Okay, the next type of figurative language we're going to talk about is a simile. So is a simile is a way of comparing two unlike things to express vivid imagery while using like or as. So an example is when someone says, "You are as blind as a bat," or "You are as cheap as dirt." They're comparing two unlike things. They're comparing you to a bat and you to dirt. And as you can see in both examples, they used as.
So, metaphors describe an object or action in a way that isn't literally true to help explain an idea or make a comparison. Similes and metaphors are very similar, except metaphors don't use the words like or as. So they make a statement. And some examples we have here are "Life is a highway" and "I am titanium." Both of these are song lyrics, and the person who wrote this, they're not literally saying "I am made of titanium." They are giving themselves the trait that titanium has, which is very strong, it's impenetrable, it can withstand a lot of things. And the person who wrote the other song is not saying life is literally a highway, but it's giving life the characteristics of a highway. So highways go on for very long. They always lead you to where you need to be. You can go many different places on a highway. You can get lost on a highway. So those are some characteristics that they're trying to apply to life. And that's what a metaphor is.
Okay, now we're going to talk about how exactly to write an ode. So, like we said, an ode is a poem that displays your passion or admiration about someone or something. So, step one to writing an ode would be to choose someone or something that you love or are passionate about. And then step two would be to jot down a list of visual details, sounds, or feelings about that subject. So, when you think of this subject, what exactly do you see? What sounds do you hear? What feelings do you get? And some questions to ask yourself are when making your list is, how does your subject make you feel? What does your subject do? What was it like when you first saw your subject? What would your life be like without it? And why is it important to you? And you should jot down a list of just simple phrases that you think about your subject. The next step, step three, would be to make an outline of how you want to organize your poem. Now, you don't have to do this all the time, but just when you're starting out writing an ode, you may choose to organize your stanzas as like the first stanza being the visual details. So starting with, let's say if I had ice cream, I would start with, oh, the visual details could be like the first line could be creamy white or dripping and melting. And then the next stanza could be about how exactly it makes me feel. It makes me feel chilled or gives me brain freeze. And that can just be an example of how you want to organize your poem. Step four would be to form your list of details and phrases into lines of the poem. So, like I said, when I was thinking about ice cream as my subject and I was jotting down, oh, the color is creamy white, or it's soft to the touch, or it's nice and cold. And then I would form those details into phrases, and that could become lines of my poem. And then as you continue to write, the step five would be to read and revise. So go read through your ode, make sure it flows, make sure it makes sense, make sure that you're hitting the points that an ode must hit. And to help you do that, here's some questions. Does your ode have a subject? So if a reader is reading this, can they immediately tell off the bat what you're writing about? Do you describe your subject using two or more senses? So really get in touch with your senses, your sight, your touch, your taste, your hearing. Does your poem show how much you admire and appreciate your subject? That is the whole point of an ode. You want to make sure your reader really understands it gets your point across that you really admire or you're really passionate about this one thing. And are you using words and phrases? Are you mixing it up? Are you combining short phrases with sentences throughout your ode? That goes back to creating a syntax for your ode. And lastly, does your ode have a rhythm? Does it flow? Does it keep a tempo? And is it clear to understand? And step six, once you're finished with all that, you should have a finished ode and feel free to share with us. We want to read all the examples and all the odes that you guys have written.
Okay, so using everything that we just told you guys, I wrote an ode about something Mallory and I are both passionate about, both love, which is hair, our hair in particular. So we're just gonna read this to you. Try to identify some figurative language you use, some imagery, our syntax, because it's all in there. We use all the things that we talked about today, and this is a really good way to identify some of those things. Ode to hair. Oh hair, the way you dance around my room to a beat I can't hear. Oh hair, I see your magnificence when you are straight. You change like a caterpillar to a butterfly. You are as beautiful as Beyonce in the mirror without any manipulation. Oh hair, oh sweet smelling, soft to the touch, rough to the comb hair. Oh big afro and tight curl. Oh broken rubber bands and brand new. There are a gazillion products to choose from. I can't even wrap my head around it. Too many products for me to name, not too many for you to hide, creating a unique scent, a signature smell that everyone notices. So many questions thrown at me as if hair is not the same on two different heads, as if I am weird and you are normal. Hairstyles change like a chameleon changes. Colors, cheetah swift or turtle slow. They are done by my inexperienced hand. I cannot fulfill the dreams and wishes of others. Do not tell me what to do with my hair. You may try to lock me up and tie her down, but we cannot be told. Your lock and key are useless. Don't touch my hair, I screech as many did before me. I am not a doll to be played with without permission. Only now it is not the hair you play with, it is my dignity, and my screech is a lawsuit aimed to end my suffering. Lock my hair in handcuffs for being too dangerous. Escort me to the counter and read me my charges. My hair swept into a loving cocoon at night, to protect and nurture, to conserve it. I hear the dreams of hair at night. Please look good in the morning. Please stay in the cap, she whispers. Kinky curly, that's me. Though the hair on my head does not define me, it does. So that's our poem. Just a little rough draft to kind of get you guys thinking and understanding that we're doing the same things you guys are. We're writing these poems with you. And if you need any help, please let us know.
So, final thoughts. Next time we will be talking about haikus and what they are and how to write them. And so your home activity, like we talk about, is to follow the steps that I created and write an ode. And please email it to us. We would love to read it. So thank you for watching and tune in next time. Bye, guys.
Hi, we're your IFA co-founders. I'm Ellie.
And I'm Miriam.
And thank you so much for watching our videos.
You guys can learn more about our cause down below at our website, www.inspirationfinearts.org.
And if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We couldn't be where we are without the support of you guys, so make sure to send in videos of the things that you've learned during classes and pictures of the art that you completed.
Everything you send in will be featured on all our social media platforms.
Thanks for supporting us, and until next time,
Go find your inspiration.